Once Upon a Time, December 4th, 2007.
From the glove compartment of Travis Bickle's taxi, it's the IGN DigiGods. So take off your thinking caps and please welcome two men who are still waiting for Guffman, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
You know what that new intro means, don't you?
All right, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Means we're on IGN.
After all that we've gone through, here we are. And Mark, this is what I'm doing to celebrate. What am I doing?
You're taking a sip of some sort of liquid that you got in your recent trip to Europe.
Oh, yeah. So, that was almost 7 years ago, Mark.
It was.
Actually,
it amazes me.
more than 7. Hold on, that's 2007. Do the math. Almost 8 years ago.
It amazes me how long we've been doing this show for IGN.
Yes.
And it also amazes us how we will not be doing this show anymore for IGN because Wade has an announcement to make. But there's good news at the end.
Yes,
but Wade has an announcement to make.
So our sponsorship, our hosting, our arrangement with IGN officially comes to an end as of this podcast. And the podcast will be migrating to a new site, our own site, which we are in the process of putting all the bells and whistles, and it'll be a work in development. And we'll obviously be inviting everyone's input. The Gods at DigiGods email will, of course, continue to be active, as will new emails, which we will relate shortly. This will be tweeted. This will be Facebooked, and we'll fill in all the details as they emerge.
You tweet?
Well, I hooked up the Twitter account again, which hasn't had anything on it for 5 years. It was actually really funny. There are like 100 and some people that follow the Twitter account still, and I posted the same thing that I posted on the Facebook page, which is something's coming from West Side Story, and some guy immediately slapped back. He's like, "Holy cow, DigiGods, you haven't tweeted in 5 years. This must be something." Within seconds. It's very strange, but anyway,
we're not known for our voluminous tweets.
No, we're not. There are other things to do. I have a toddler. I have a little girl who likes to play with animals, plastic animals. I have to do that instead of tweeting.
All right, so so the point is...
The point is...
This is our final IGN show.
This is our final IGN show.
However, we will be seamlessly migrating to another...
To cinegods.com. Cinegods.com will be the new...
But DigiGods.com is... Can you still go to DigiGods.com and get the next podcast we do?
Absolutely, yeah.
Even though it's independent of IGN?
Yes, because we are going to... there's a whole technical thing that has to happen, which is transferring the feed, and then everybody's going to have...
And it might take a week, so there will not be a show next week.
Yeah, there's not going to be a show next week because it's also Labor Day in the United States.
I'm going to Portland, Wade.
You're going to Portland?
I am.
You like Portland?
I've never been to Portland. How do I know if I like
No, it's Seattle that you like. You like Seattle.
I went to Whistler in British Columbia.
Okay, but you went to Seattle some years ago, and you really dug it.
I did.
Yeah, you dug it.
I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Portland, Seattle, same thing.
No, it's not. Anyway, point being is that we're going to take a week off, possibly 2. Obviously, probably wind up being 2 when you get right down to it, because we are trying to launch a site called Cinegods.com, even though DigiGods.com will be equally active.
DigiGods.com will, of course, be centered around the podcast, which will be a subsection of the Cinegods site, which will be it'll be its own thing.
There'll be stuff going on there. Now, we are actually Wade's designing it, which scares the crap out of me because I'll tell you something. I work for the biggest entertainment website in the world. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And Wade's going to design this thing. It's going to look like crap.
It will.
And the only way it won't look like crap...
Crayons. I'm designing it with crayons.
Step up.
Yeah.
I thought it was finger paints. The only way it will not look like crap is if you tell me what you are doing, and I can give you some advice as to what websites need to look like in order to maximize views, be a pleasant viewer experience, get people to dive into the site, right? Page after page, not just come to the home page and leave.
I'm modeling it off of this site that I've heard of, that some people go to. You may have heard of it. It's called Pinterest. It's going to look like that.
Now, okay, that's fine, I guess.
No, it's not going to look like that.
No, because what I told you is that
I look at Pinterest and my brain starts to short circuit.
No, what I told you is that, and again, if you want to give us some suggestions as to design sites, and maybe there's a site that you like personally, you're like, hey, here's a site that maybe you can model your look after. You can email us that link at gods@digigods.com. No porn, please. Except for me.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Sure.
Wait. Anyway, what websites tend to look like now is they have big boxes.
Yeah.
Right?
We were talking about this.
Yes,
actually.
it's like the homepage should have like 6 big boxes, and each box should be a still of a movie that we love, right? Or public domain film or something like that. And then within each box, it'll say, podcast or film reviews or blog.
Yeah. We'll get
or links or social media.
We'll get there.
That's why it's going to take us a couple of weeks. Actually, now that we're talking it out, we're going to relaunch the podcast sometime in 2017.
We'll sort it out. In any case, the first step is migrating the podcast to our new hosting service, and then once that takes place, the feed should be continuous. So people may need to renew their feed at some point, but there's no reason why everything should not be seamless and continuous behind the scenes. We've done this once before when we went to IGN. We kind of carried everybody with us. So, the way this stuff happens on the back end is supposed to be seamless. So. We'll see how that goes. This week we'll tell the tale. IGN has been wonderful to us, by the way. We have nothing but gratitude for the people we've worked with there. Chris Coll and David McCutcheon have all been just absolutely fantastic, and every week helping this go off in a seamless and effortless way. Dave McCutcheon especially, just first-rate guy. We sort of pass him the football, and he ran with it. And I don't know what happened to all the stuff after that. It all happened on the back end somewhere, and things were orchestrated rather beautifully, and it helped us carry a relatively light load. So.
Yeah, really all we had to worry about is recording the show.
Yeah.
Because they did all that technical heavy lifting that I could never do.
Yeah.
And Wade would attempt to do, screw up 3 times.
Yep.
And then probably do it eventually.
Yeah.
But those guys at IGN, bam, it's up.
It's up. It's great. It's fantastic. So
thank you to IGN.
Thank you to IGN, who has just been wonderful for us, and to all the people who came to us because of IGN, who found us over there. So we'll just keep checking the Facebook page, monitor the Twitter feed. The Twitter feed is at DigiGods, and
I don't know if I'd monitor the Twitter feed.
I would
maybe keep.
There's also a new Twitter feed at CineGods.
Oh.
Yes.
Monitor that one.
Well, both of them. So we'll keep everybody abreast. It'll all eventually work itself out. There'll be a few glitches along the way, of course, as there always are. But we'll get it sorted out. And by all means, email us at gods@digigods.com, gods@digigods.com, and we'll have a good time.
Yes.
Going forward, lots of fun stuff.
We'll have a better time because at the new DigiGods, I feel like I'm going to swear. I will use 4-letter words.
Well, the show started as the box office DVD roundup. And I still remember that very first podcast. You and I and Tim were Skyping, and we had no idea what we were doing. It was just like this random thing. And we slowly kind of, sorted it all out, and it became the box office DVD roundup. And then when box office was reorganized, we went solo and became the DVD DigiGods. Eventually adopted by IGN as the IGN DigiGods. And, this is the evolution is that basically now DigiGods is the brand. So there's no more qualifier at the beginning of it. It's just DigiGods. It's the DigiGods podcast. And that's who we are. And, not because IGN had compartmentalized all of their podcasts, we were very focused on DVD, Blu-ray. But we can broaden that now. We can pretty much do anything we want.
That is true.
With this thing. We can broaden it to streaming. We could talk about television. We could talk about...
We could do film reviews?
Film reviews. We can... You know what we may even want to do, Mark? We might even want to talk about food. We might even want to integrate cooking and food into the show.
Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants
First of all, I don't want to do 6 podcasts a week.
Do you?
I do not want to do 6 podcasts.
You do not want to do 6 podcasts.
I would like to do 1 podcast a week.
I don't really understand the mind of a toddler, but this is the thing that my daughter will do now. She'll say things like, "I want to go upstairs." Do you? You want to go upstairs? No. I want to go outside. Really? You want to go outside? No.
Oh, so you're saying she sounds like more and more like a woman?
And she'll say, "I want to have ice cream." Really? You want to have ice cream? No. The instant changing
first
of
of
her
all,
mind.
she said no
Yes.
when asked about ice cream.
Yes.
And that's just not right.
It's very strange. She doesn't like any of the foods the kids usually like.
Okay. First, here's the thing. We have to promise everybody we will not talk about the children during the podcast. Here's what I promise to you, which, by the way, is not a guarantee. Wade will no longer talk about opera Blu-rays. Wade, can you promise us that?
Absolutely not. I'm gonna have a. You want me to have a separate podcast
Yeah,
for opera Blu-rays?
Yeah. I mean, you would start the show with. I'm like, you know what? You're turning off the listener immediately with some opera crap. They don't want to hear about that.
Gods at DigiGods.com. Tell us the name of your favorite opera. That's what we got to do.
No. Tell us the name of your favorite opera that you heard about on the podcast. They'll go and Google opera and just come up with emails the first one they saw.
We got 2 giveaways today, by the way.
2 giveaways?
Are
the opera giveaways?
No, they're not. Hang on a second.
All right, so I promise. Now, I'm not sure about the baking, though. I don't know if people like that. It seemed like people have responded to the baking. Now, of course, I have temporarily stopped baking because I've gained 10 pounds. No kidding, I gained 10 pounds. I used to be 165. I'm now 175. But I'm now 171. So I'm losing it. So, if nobody wants the baking stuff, we don't have to do the baking stuff for the new show. But, I'll probably keep doing it until you people tell me to stop. Okay, so opera Blu-rays, I cannot guarantee we will not talk about that anymore. I will guarantee that we will continue to talk about all the great new independent releases, Criterion releases, little movies that you've never heard about that we can hopefully recommend to you. Also, you got to admit, we talk about superhero movies a lot, we talk about tentpole films a lot, and you have to admit, even though we seem like curmudgeonly old, get off my lawn people, we do like a lot of these movies. You can tell that we are, in our heart of hearts, fanboys. So we'll be talking about all those movies, too. We did not do that just to make IGN happy. We did it because we love those movies, too. Or we want to love those movies, too. And really, by and large, we've been very favorable to all the Marvel films. Less the DC films, but all the Marvel films.
Very true.
Very true.
And speaking of, isn't it fascinating as we get to this point in the summer, what a weird summer this has been. I mean, on 3 levels. Weird in this sense. Weird in the sense that we've had the 2 biggest opening weekends in history in the same summer, possibly 3 in the same year when Star Wars opens. The biggest success ever, in movie history, in a year, is now official already at the end of summer, and that's Universal. Universal has made more money, has earned more money by August than any other studio has ever earned in an entire year, period.
Between Furious 7 and Jurassic World.
Neither of them superhero movies. Neither of them
both sequels, which is,
Both sequels, but one is a franchise that's been rebooted. It hasn't been around for over a decade. Everybody thought the Jurassic films ran their course a decade ago. This guy is coming from independent films, and then Furious is it's a series that started with a horrible movie. It was terrible. The first one is a dreadful
Rob Cohen film. It's like he's a B movie guy.
Yeah, well, anyway. What do you want? There you go. Okay, so, Mark.
Yes, ma'am.
This week.
Oh!
This is what we're starting with.
I want it. You're going to give this to me, aren't you?
We haven't talked about lenticular covers in a long time. We used to have a lot of fun euphemisms for lenticular, testicular, and ventricular. And
are you going to give me this?
No.
I want it. I want Mad Max Fury Road. I want it right now.
3D.
Oh, who cares about
I can't say that the 3... See, and it's interesting because I did not see this projected in 3D. I saw a 2D projection of this, which was plenty fine for me. So the 3D was purely a home theater experience, and I don't think it makes a big deal. I really don't.
3D?
No,
I wouldn't know. I didn't see it in 3D.
Not this film.
By the way, we have a giveaway. Wade teased a giveaway.
2 giveaways.
And then forgot all about it.
Yeah.
But let's just say that we will talk about Mad Max.
Yep.
And just as a spoiler, we liked it.
Oh, man, did we like it. Well, here's the thing, and our friend Luke Thompson, who has his own take on this, and this is his 4th favorite Mad Max film. He was saying that recently over on Naked Robot. I don't really... I understand what he's saying, but I gotta say, this is... I don't know, man. I don't like ranking them. I love this film. I love this film. This film was such a roar. This was just such a trip, such a ride.
Well, also, people complain about the Avenger films and about how they're a little convoluted in the plot.
There's
right?
no convoluted here.
Oh no, this is just an adrenaline needle to the heart.
That's it.
For 2 hours, and that's it. You don't have to worry about who's Ultron,
no.
who's Ant-Man fighting, who's the guy with the bald guy with the big suit. I don't know. You don't have to worry about any of that.
Furiosa takes the girls. And everybody's chasing everybody else, and eventually they team up with Max, and they've got to escape lunatic, crazy man. What's his name?
I wish everybody could see another movie all about the making of this movie, and you will see what it's like to go 8,000 miles into some African desert,
Immortan Joe.
right,
Yeah.
and make a movie, right?
Played by Hugh Keys-Byrne, who, by the way, played the toe cutter in the first Mad Max.
That is true.
He's so awesome.
he's
He has
awesome.
that voice. He has that really scary, intimidating voice. It's great.
And
Anyway,
then what happens is you see stills from Star Wars, upcoming Star Wars, upcoming this and that,
Yeah.
and upcoming Star Trek. I saw those. Everybody's in front of a green screen.
yeah.
The whole movie's in front of a green screen.
Well, there's a
you
lot-
watch this movie, and there's green screen stuff in here.
But it's mostly the environment. It's the rocks and the cliffs, and they really amp up the environment. It was shot in Namibia in Africa, where it's mostly pretty flat. It's flat land, so they use CGI to amp up things that you're not really paying attention to, which is the valleys and the rocks and the cliffs and the overhangs and all that stuff, and create kind of an interesting world. But otherwise, man, the car stuff, that's the real deal. There's not a lot of CGI going on there. They are on rigs, and these rigs were built, and the stunts are real, and they were the guys who are on those poles flying back and forth.
It's a great visual. It's a great stunt.
And that is legit. There's no blue screen or green screening going on there. Those guys are on those freaking poles. I mean, you watch the behind the scenes stuff, you just go, "Are you kidding me? Really? How did you?" I mean, they're all timed. It's just beautiful. It's magic. It is magic. How do you feel about Tom Hardy as Mad Max?
Well,
big,
I feel like,
shoes to fill.
Huh?
Big shoes to fill.
It is big shoes to fill. I think the issue ultimately, and this was an issue some people had with the film, is that the character was not much in this movie.
Well, it's much more her film.
It's her film. That's the thing.
Furiosa's film.
So
Yeah.
let's say you put the most charismatic actor on earth.
Charlize Theron owns this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the movie is built for her to own.
Yeah.
So if you put even the most charismatic actor ever in that role, does it matter? Because he's really it's a supporting part.
Very true.
So Tom Hardy, I think he's great.
Yeah.
I think he's great in everything he does. I think he's great in this.
I agree.
I'm hoping that in the next one, although the film is a little soft, it did not set the world on fire box office wise. I have a feeling it might be on a little bit of a bubble in terms of making another one. Although
Well,
George Miller has said
He's got two more.
He's got two more.
And the rumor is that he's being offered or being courted for the next Superman film.
so. If he does that,
But see, I don't fully buy that. I'm sure he probably took a meeting for it, like he takes a meeting for everything that he's offered. It's just courtesy in Hollywood. Somebody offers you. I mean, if they offered him, Meatballs 4, he'd probably take a meeting on it just to meet the people,
I would
right?
so want to be a part of that movie.
The meatball on fire rolling down and wiping out the camp.
Exactly. So,
But yeah,
the point being is that
I don't think he's going to do Superman 2. It's just it's not. Why would George Miller do that?
But I would
he doesn't
say
need to
that
do
if this thing was gangbusters, if this thing was $800 million worldwide, even $600 million worldwide, he might think, "Oh my God, this is it. How can I not do another one?" Now he has an excuse not to do it.
Well,
it's sort of it's it's a little like Prometheus because Prometheus
they're
comes
doing
out,
another one though.
It was on the bubble.
Yeah.
It was not. That was not a slam dunk green light.
I'm going to tell you this because it was rated R is the reason it wasn't a slam dunk in theaters. It had the R handicap, but I guarantee you, this thing's going to do incredibly well on Blu-ray, on DVD, and it'll be one of those movies that generates enough heat in its second life that it will. They'll have sequels. Those next two films, they will happen.
Now on the new show, are you going to bump the mic?
Maybe.
Because one of us always bumps the
I
mic
know.
every show.
I know.
Our point being is that Mad Max Fury Road, fantastic,
awesome.
one of our favorite films of the year,
Gotta
one
love
of the
it.
best action films
great.
of the last 25 years, if not
Great.
ever.
Yep. Fantastic.
Yep.
Absolutely superb.
Did you like it?
Loved it.
Oh.
Well, maybe
I wasn't
not so
sure.
much. Yeah. And it's out there from Warner Brothers in a fantastic Blu-ray, 3D Blu-ray, DVD, digital HD, ultraviolet thing. You can watch this in any form on any player. It'll follow you around. It'll be attached to it. Your hit. It'll be fantastic. You'll love it. A bunch of other things coming out this week. That's the Big Mama. A few other things real quickly. We've got
What's the Big Mama?
Mad Max.
Oh, got
That
it.
was the Big Mama.
I thought you were pointing at something I was holding.
No.
So that's the Big Mama.
No.
Yeah.
No. We got a few other things here. We'll blow through them relatively quickly because we're going to do a lot this week because we're off for at least one more week. So we're going to try to really knock it out this time. We got to think one of these based on a true stories deals here. Backcountry. this has become one of these things now, and there have been a lot of indie films where in the Liam Neeson thing was kind of the start of it. Where people are just like now lost and they're fighting bears and wolves and they're lost in the forest, and it's all sort of adapting the old monster movie / shark movie, Jaws or whatever, for just wild animals in our forests. So people won't believe that you're running from the creature from the Black Lagoon anymore, but they will believe that you're running from a rabid grizzly bear or whatever the case is. And that may run its course actually come Oscar season with The Revenant, because The Revenant is a little bit of that, but it looks legit. And it may raise the bar once again.
That's right, considering who is being directed and shot by the
Iñárritu
same guys who did
it's
Gravity
those
guys are off the chart.
It's Iñárritu and Emmanuel, who are right after coming off of Birdman.
Birdman. Those guys are geniuses.
Yeah, and Leonardo, not my favorite actor, but it looks pretty great. Anyway, this is written and directed by Adam McDonald, and it's fine. No major names in it, but it's basically takes place in the Canadian wilderness, and you think you're in you're safe and you're good and you're smart campers, and then all hell breaks loose. So it's fair, it's decently done. I guess these people will probably work again. It's a decent Blu-ray, and that is Backcountry. And then for the older set, who aren't into grizzly movies, I'll See You in My Dreams is one of these. This is becoming a thing now, right? With the Marigold Hotel and everything else, or movies about older people trying to sort of get it on, get hot and heavy in their twilight years, make the twilight years more like their teen years. And I don't know where that genre came from, but it's apparently here to stay. So this is a movie starring Blythe Danner as a widow who is trying to find that last chapter in her life. And she's finding it rather dour and unilluminating. She doesn't want to be an old woman. She's not ready to go. And she wants to still have some vivaciousness in her late life. And that's when, of all people, Sam Elliott enters the picture. And I got to tell you, man, Sam Elliott, that guy is just the real deal.
He's Sam Elliott.
He's just Sam Elliott, and he only ever plays himself with the cigar and the voice. I'm not even going to try to do the voice.
Even when he's not wearing a cowboy hat, he acts as if he's wearing a cowboy hat.
He's got all kinds of swagger, and he's so charming, and he's just, and the voice is just immortal. You realize he married Catherine Ross. You realize after she'd been chased by no less than Dustin Hoffman and Paul Newman and Robert Redford, he's the one that bags her.
Yeah. Look at that guy. Look at Sam.
That's still lasting. It's amazing. But anyway, that's essentially what this movie is. And it tries to be poignant. I don't think it's as poignant as it thinks it is, but it's okay. Sam Elliott's great, and he almost makes the whole thing worthwhile. When, the little gaggle of old ladies that she has around her, which includes Rhea Perlman and Mary Kay Place and June Squibb, who I know you're a big fan of.
From Nebraska.
Oscar-nominated. Yeah, that gets a little old, four little old ladies acting like teenage girls and wreaking havoc. That's not so cool. But otherwise, I'll See You in My Dreams is perfectly enjoyable for what it is for a certain generation.
Wade, Robin Williams died over a year ago, yet he still keeps coming out with movies. And you know what? Now we look at his smaller, more dramatic films in a whole new light, knowing he was battling with depression so much. Yeah. So you look at a movie like a 1 Hour Photo when he's in dour mode, and you wonder what he was working out. Maybe that's why he took those roles. And now we've got Boulevard, and this one was fairly successful. He plays a married guy who he's 60 years old, works at a bank. And it turns out that he has a secret that he keeps from his family. And in his, late middle age, that secret becomes known, and now it's how it affects him and his family. And Kathy Baker plays his wife, and she's always very good. And this thing kind of came and went like most of Robin Williams' small movies. But you know what? I think this one's pretty good. It's a believable story. I'm not saying we haven't seen this stuff before. But it's it makes you think about how you would react if somebody you've known for 40 years turns out that they're gay. Yeah. Do you care? Does it affect you not at all? Does it affect you fundamentally in terms of how you think of them? And so, it really gets into some interesting areas. So Boulevard, again, it's not a tour de force of any kind, and it's kind of cheesy sometimes, and it's, but I liked it. I think it's a good little movie. Boulevard. Less good is a movie called 7 Minutes. And 7 Minutes is one of those, bank heist movies where, they're going to do a robbery, and, it's a type of robbery like they're in and out like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
you
it
got
never
down,
happens.
man, 10 minutes.
You ever notice those bank heists never... every time there's one of those depicted in a movie, it never goes down like that. Like, every bank robbery you ever hear about, it's usually... Some old guy, in his boxer shorts, wearing like a Little Orphan Annie wig, who puts on a Batman mask and walks in and hands a badly written note to a teller, and just kind of twiddles his thumbs while she fills the bag, and nobody really pays any attention. That's what it is. That's how bank robberies go down. There's never a bunch of guys in masks who walk in with sawed-off shotguns and jump up on desks and say, "Everybody on the floor, open the safe." That never happens.
Well, what they should do is they should do a movie called 7 Minutes about a bank heist, and it should take 7 minutes. They do the bank heist and then leave.
And that's the movie.
Yeah, well, that's just, the guy is like, the beginning of the movie is like, it's going to take 7 minutes to rob this bank. He does 7 minutes, it's over.
Okay.
Anyway, what these guys do, which, has its charms, is they give you the heist in real time, repeatedly. So you see it from different, it's done in flashback, seen through different angles, very Seven Samurai-ish, or not Seven Samurai,
Rashomon. Yeah, I knew what you meant.
Rashomon-esque. And so you see it in real time from different perspectives, building up to the big event.
All right.
So that's an interesting little concept. I'd like to see a more polished filmmaker attempt it, but it does have Chris Christopherson in it, and he is always cool.
All right.
And Jason Ritter.
Okay.
Also.
A director who we all really once loved was John McNaughton, who seemed to have it really going on.
He does TV mostly at this point.
But it's weird. He's one of those guys. He was on The Bubble, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, and then he made the thing with De Niro and Bill Murray.
Oh yeah, not Mad Dog Glory.
That was it. That was it. Mad Dog and Glory. And he was like, oh my gosh, he's really like he was going to be the next David O. Russell, right?
Yeah, like
before there was a David O. Russell.
That distinctive.
Yeah, it's like he had
serial
a
comic
whole
guy. He had a vibe.
He had a vibe, and then he just went away. And I don't really know what happened, but anyway, he's back. And this is his first film in like 15 years, and it's called The Harvest. It is, you can tell he's a little rusty, but otherwise, he's working with a good cast. Peter Fonda shows up in this thing, but basically it belongs to Michael Shannon and Samantha Morton. They're terrific. They're absolutely great in this. Two really good actors who I admire enormously. And it's... there's a lot. It's very nervy. It's very suspenseful. It gets into this whole. There's like Charlie Tahan from Gotham plays this creepy kid in this thing, and the whole thing. I don't want to call it a haunted house movie because it's not really what it is, but it's a suspenseful, horror-y, thrillery thing. Centered around this family with all kinds of interesting little side threads. And it's called The Harvest. Comes to us from Screen Factory and IFC Midnight, courtesy of Shout Factory. Worth checking out. If you're a John McNaughton fan, you'll know what to expect. It definitely has his signature. But keep in practice, man. Come on back. Do some big major movies.
That is true. We have The Curse of Downers Grove, which is a really stupid teen horror film. Luckily, it's less than 90 minutes. That's a good thing. Anyway, it's this ridiculous teen soap opera type story about this little school in Illinois, and at this high school, at the end of every year, one senior dies in a gruesome accident.
Oh, that's good.
So there's this Indian curse involved, which winds up having nothing to do with anything, which really pissed me off. And it becomes, who's the one who's going to die? Where does the curse come from? And what I found funny about this is that it's supposedly, it says on the back of the box, as I was opening it up, inspired by true events. Now, what true events?
That's another one that's a theme this week.
So what true events would have anything to do with a curse where a high school kid dies every year? Has that actually happened? Not really.
Let me look that up. I'll bet I could find one.
Anyway, it's got Tom Arnold's in it and Lucas Till. People like the Lucas Till, I guess, and Kevin Zegers. Like Lucas Till, Kevin Zegers are two kind of up and coming young guys, and they're fine, handsome and fine. But this thing was just not really well put together, not very thrilling, and it's got a lot of cliches in it, and is basically just really silly.
Yeah, I hear you. Here's our first giveaway this week. It's a movie called 5 Star, which comes to us from the wonderful people at it's Accelerator Media. They released the film theatrically and on DVD, but it's comes to us from Up the Street Films. They made it in association with Brooklyn Filmmakers Collective, and you know what I like about this film really came out of the blue, and it's been kind of beneath the radar because it's really kind of a lower tier indie. And nobody's really been paying a lot of attention to it. But here's what's really interesting about this. The whole Bloods and Crips thing really kind of ran its course back in, by the late 80s, early 90s. That was almost over. It was like Boys in the Hood pretty much sealed that whole thing off. Remember that? Colors, Boys in the Hood.
Sure.
And then we were done with the whole gang thing in film. And everybody who tried thereafter, it just sort of kept recycling the same story over and over and over, and it didn't have anything new to say. This is completely a completely different and new take on it, and I think it's terrific. This is a great little indie film. I wish there were more like this. It's a great example of how you can do great drama with good no-name actors and put the whole thing together on a shoestring and have it not look like it was put together on a shoestring. Written, directed, and edited by Keith Miller. Keep your eye on him. Keith Miller is really he's going to be something one of these days. Basically, this is it's a fatherhood story. It's about a guy who's been a gangster since he was a kid, and he takes this orphaned kid who was the son of a guy that was previously like one of his mentors, takes him on, and it takes place in New York. And it is a narratively very interesting. I won't tell you exactly what it does narratively, but it's very, very interesting. Completely novel approach to the story and to the subject matter, and it's really worth checking out. So we are giving away 2 copies of 5 Star. We will randomly pick a winner. Make sure you get your emails to us at gods@digigods.com by the 4th, September the 4th, Friday. They should be dated no later than September the 4th. And put your name and address in the body of the email and put 5 Star, 2 words, all spelled out, 5 Star, FIVESTAR in the subject line. And we will pick 2 lucky people by Friday or after we receive all the emails on Friday the 4th at the latest. So 5 Star, good film, 2 DVDs.
There you go.
You'll be happy.
You'll be glad you did.
Yeah.
The D Train is a movie that made me sad. I'll tell you why it made me sad.
It looks like such a good cast.
Well, here's the thing: is that Jack Black was so fantastic in Bernie about 4 years ago. I just love that film. It's a great film. It's the best use of his gifts. He was good in it. It should have been like a little career booster rocket for him.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Man.
He did Bernie, and people loved him in it, but it never wound up really relaunching him. So he winds up in the D Train. Which, I guess there was an episode of The Simpsons and Family Guy that had kind of the same concept, but essentially Jack Black plays a husband and father who, in his high school years, he was desperately uncool, and so he decides to go back to his high school reunion and take with him this TV hunk played by James Marsden. And so if Jack Black brings a huge TV star to his high school reunion, he will suddenly be cool, which he never was in high school. And so I'm not saying that premise doesn't have promise.
Have you ever seen James Marsden and Chris Pine in the same place at the same time?
No, I have not.
Okay. Just made my point.
Carry on.
Just made my point.
You think they look alike?
I think they're the same person. I do.
What?
I do. I check the SAG records. I'll bet you all those paychecks from Star Trek and from the X-Men films. I bet they all go to the same address.
Anyway, there's some funny stuff in this. I don't know that it comes together particularly to any meaningful effect, but as a Saturday night rental, sure, you can do a lot worse than the D Train, especially if you're a Jack Black fan. But I think it's funny. Could have been funnier. It could have had a little bit more to say about people's awkward teen years and how they'd love to make up for that and wish that their life had turned out differently and that kind of stuff. A little more to say about that would have been nice. Give it a little bit of a dimension. Wasn't really there.
Yeah.
So, and Jack Black, he's in half funny, half wacky mode. He's like an odd character. Some people may not like the fact that he's kind of unlikable, but still, it is Jack Black, and Jack Black to me is always unlikable.
Well,
as a person and a character.
Yeah.
So there's D Train.
Animals. What was the film that I hate?
I'm going to cough. Is that okay?
Go ahead and do it.
I'm getting over a horrible cold, by the way. I had a cold for like 4 days. I took a day off work.
You never do that.
I don't. In fact, I would have taken 2 days off work, but I had to be at the office. But what I'm saying is I'm overcoming a cold.
Well, good for you. So Animals is a movie by Colin Shifley, and it was written by the lead actor in it, David Dastmalchian, or Dastmalchian.
Dos Vidania.
Anyway. This wants to be kind of a lower tier or lower budget version of what's the drug addicted thing that you loved so much, but with
Requiem for a
that's
Dream?
it, Requiem for a Dream. It wants to be a Requiem for a Dream kind of thing. A couple of addicts and trying to somehow be functional addicts and manage to hang out in Chicago and somehow have a life but be addicts at the same time. And of course, it never works. All these things are all variations on all the old alcoholism movies, the Days of Wine and Roses and The Lost Weekend. That's sort of where all this stuff begins, and it hasn't really changed very much. Hasn't become substantially different since. It's just that now people swap in various drugs in place of alcohol, and acting's fine, but it just isn't. It isn't unique. It isn't fresh enough. On the other hand, I want to talk fresh. I think this movie is terrific. Good Kill, man, with Ethan Hawke. Maybe the best performance Ethan Hawke has ever given on film. The most restrained performance. Ethan Hawke has been, in stuff like Boyhood, I often feel like he's trying too hard. But here, he just pulls it all. He goes full internal. He goes into Paul Newman mode, man. He just lets it grind his guts up while you watch him. This is a sensational movie, written and directed by Andrew Niccol. Andrew Niccol, one of my favorite directors working.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Love him.
Andrew Niccol, of course, famous for Gattaca primarily, but he's also done stuff like Simone, which I loved and everyone else hated. I love Simone. It's
lame.
hysterical.
It's lame. You know who's taken Andrew Nichol's place as a director? The guy who did the movie
Ex Machina?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Gartner Garland.
Alex
Garland. Yeah,
Alex Garland is kind of taking his place.
He's kind of becoming that guy. But you know what, Andrew Niccol, nobody can really take his place. This is a sensational film. It's out on Blu-ray with an ultraviolet on it from Paramount. This is so freaking good. I can't even tell you. Here's what it's about. This is about a guy. Ethan Hawke plays a guy who was he was a fighter pilot. He's no longer a fighter pilot. Now he is a drone pilot. He sits basically somewhere in the Nevada desert. He walks into a trailer, a top secret trailer, and he basically sits there and he pilots drones and watches on a video camera while thousands of miles away in Afghanistan he blows things up and blows people up and spies on people who have no idea what's coming. And it's all about how that haunts him and how that just eats him alive. Not only what he's doing and the distance, the antiseptic way in which he's now killing people at a distance, just sitting down, not even piloting a plane, but how it affects his family. January Jones does a really good job playing his wife. Bruce Greenwood plays his immediate superior. I mean, Zoe Kravitz, who's just in everything these days, including Mad Max Fury Road. She is sensational as another one of these pilots. The whole thing is just really, really first rate. It's very, very claustrophobic because you're in this room so much of the time, but yet it's not claustrophobic because you see all of the stuff that's going on in Afghanistan remotely on the screen. And when you think about the logistics of actually shooting the drone footage and then shooting the other footage and how it all fits together, Niccol does a hell of a job here. He creates suspense and tension and drama in ways that I've never seen created before in a film of this type. It is a first-rate character study. It is gripping. It is really a discovery, and I'm sorry that more people didn't see it. Ethan Hawke in Good Kill. Do not miss this movie on Blu-ray.
Look at that. As we exit IGN, you're coming out there with the big endorsements.
Big endorsements.
You're not going out as a hater, Wade.
No, I'm not.
You're going as a lover.
I really love Good Kill. It works on so many levels. It's so smart.
Andrew Niccol is the man.
He is.
I'm surprised that I'm disappointed that this film didn't get bigger play.
Yeah, it should have. It's sweet.
So wait, there's an ancient two-legged monster running around upstate New York. Let me tell you something.
I know. And his
wild.
name is Bill de Blasio. No, I'm
What?
joking. I'm joking. It's a big joke.
Can you say that Donald Trump should have run for mayor of New York instead of the president? Like
He kinda could've.
He could have
Easily,
won.
yeah.
They love him there.
And I'm joking. I have a very, very good friend who actually I just saw the other day. She was in town. She works for de Blasio. So I don't throw bombs at me. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. Throwaway joke.
All right, so there's this. By the way, send angry emails to Wade. So there's a movie. The movie with the dumbest title of the year is "Dark Was the Night," and this stars Kevin Durant and Lucas Haas, and it's all about the finding and supposedly killing of this ancient two-legged monster that has showed up to Maidenwoods. Wait, Dark Was the Night. I mean, what the hell else is Dark supposed to be? Dark? Are you kidding me? Dark was. It sounds like something Snoopy would write.
What they're hoping is that somebody will actually walk past this on the Best Buy shelf, which is where it's an exclusive, and they'll say, "Oh, the Dark Knight." Oh, it's not the Dark Knight. Well, I wonder what it is, and maybe they'll take a second look. That's what they're hoping.
But that's terrible. But it's like Naked Came the Manatee. Remember Naked Came the Manatee?
Yeah.
See,
nobody wants to see a manatee naked.
Have you ever read Naked Came the? You've heard of that?
I've heard of it, but never read it.
Okay, I have to say this. Okay,
do it.
It's great. Okay, this movie's stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, Naked Came the Manatee it came out like in the mid-90s, like 1996, and it starred in Miami.
Sure.
And the editor of the newspaper there, the Herald,
Yes.
guy was brilliant. He goes to Dave Barry and says, "Dave Barry, I'm going to write a novel. Novel's going to have 13 chapters. Each chapter will be written by a different Miami writer. And the whole idea is that, Dave, you will write the first chapter. It will then be handed to the second writer, who will then have to take your characters and do whatever he wants to them in the second chapter. And it'll be then handed off to a third writer, who will take the first two chapters and advance the plot. And it'll then be sent to the fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh and eighth writer, and on, until
boy.
Carl Hiaasen wrote the final chapter where he had to tie all the loose ends together and end the story.
What a mess.
It was hilarious. It was just awesome. And it was obviously an experiment in comedy and parody and mystery storytelling. This is great. Anyway, highly recommended novel. Buy it on Amazon. Naked Came the Manatee. And the whole idea is that the name is stupid.
It's an omnibus thing, yeah.
But it's a goof. And it's called Naked Came the Manatee, which has nothing to do with nothing. And it's great. Anyway, when I saw Dark Was the Night, that's what I thought of. Oh, it's great.
It's a lot more than I ever wanted to know about that story.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, next we have Broken Horses. This movie was not very good. This is about Anton Yelchin, who plays Chekhov in the Star Trek films. He returns to his hometown and finds that he's got like this simple-minded brother, and the simple-minded brother has joined a gang, and the gang is run by, of course, one of the best ruthless bosses of this generation, Vincent D'Onofrio. He always plays a great ruthless boss, Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yep.
And so he decides to join the gang in order to get his brother out. This thing is just filled with cliches. It's weirdly kind of Baroque, very, very dark. And, I just think this thing just does not succeed at all. The performances are fine, but the script is really cliched. A lot of distasteful stuff happens. It's just really kind of boring. And a lot of secrets are revealed in terms of the characters and how they grew up and who they are, but it's not that interesting. Really sloppy stuff. So I'm not a fan of Broken Horses, even though James Cameron says Broken Horses is an artistic triumes.
Yeah, you got to wonder what friend of his was involved in this.
Yeah, I'm trying to find if there's any
connection?
Because James Cameron signed off on the new Terminator film because it was written by his former assistant or somebody like that, Leta Kalgorius.
Happens all the time. Happens all the time. Your chauffeur winds up, writing a movie, and they come back and go, "Would you throw me a quote?" And somehow they do, because they don't think it damages their brand, and they're probably right. So the offspring of famous people oftentimes get together and make pretty good movies, and this is a case of another one of this. This is our second giveaway of the week from E1, directed by Gil Cates Jr. and starring Sean Astin, both of them kind of Hollywood royalty. And pretty well done for a lower tier movie that goes straight to DVD. Comes with an audio commentary and music videos and featurettes and deleted scenes and all the usual stuff and great behind the scenes stuff. There's actually a fairly complete documentary here on the making of the film, which is good because the logistics of it are kind of up there with Captain Phillips It's got similar logistics going on, and you have to really kind of applaud them. They really did a good job with this. It's about a plane crash in Lake Michigan, and the aftermath of that, and it becomes almost it turns into kind of a fearless thing in a way. The Jeff Bridges, Peter Weir film. It goes into a little bit of fearless territory.
Fearless, yeah.
Yeah. Gets into that territory a little bit too. So it's a survival film. It's a tragedy film. It's a trauma film, but it's got the logistics of working with Lake Michigan and all of these elements. Very nicely pulled off. So we're going to be giving away 2 copies of this. The Surface, The Truth Lies Beneath. I don't like the tagline very much. But Sean Astin, Chris Mulkey, and Mimi Rogers star for Gil Cates Jr. in The Surface. We're going to give away 2 copies. Please pick which of the 2 movies that you want to see, which you want to enter the giveaway for, 5-star or The Surface. Please don't enter both. You can't win both. You can only win one. And send us an email to gods@digigods.com, also dated no later than September 4th, Friday. Gods@digigods.com with your name and your address in the body of the email. And in the subject, just put Surface, Surface, Surface. And we will send 2 lucky people a copy of The Surface. 2 more movies that I am particularly fond of this week. One sort of shocks me. Lost After Dark is a retro 80s slasher movie that really does it quite nicely. Really captures the whole essence and soul of that thing in a shockingly legitimate way. And even though I don't like those movies, the fact that this does such a brilliant job of capturing the essence of those films really kind of caught me over. It carried me. So I applaud Ian Kessner, who directed it, for really knowing his material and really giving it the look, the pacing, the style, the music, everything. It all comes together. It is a pastiche, and it is kitsch, and it is actually a whole lot of fun. It's called Lost After Dark, and that made me think about this forthcoming film that's coming out in a matter of weeks, The Final Girls. Have you been tracking The Final Girls?
The Final Girls?
Oh my gosh,
Never heard
dude.
of it.
Looks brilliant. I got a link on it. I'm going to be watching it probably this weekend.
Who directed it?
Gosh, I forget. The trailer is a riot. It is a stone cold riot.
Well, is it an American film? Or
It's an American film. It's a comedy. It's a comedy. It's basically about a bunch of kids who go to see they go to the revival theater to see this old 80s slasher film. It's like Sleepover Camp or something, whatever. They made it up for the movie. It's clearly some kind of Friday the 13th thing or Halloween, and they wind up in Purple Rose of Cairo and Sherlock Jr. style, being sucked into the movie. And they have to use their knowledge of the films and of horror films in general to keep from being killed in the movie. And
that could work.
It's very funny.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
what's it called?
The Final Girls.
The Final Girls.
The trailer is a riot. The trailer is a hoot. If the movie is even a fraction as funny as the trailer, it's going to be great. We've had a lot of revisionist westerns lately, and they're all shot in other countries. They're all shot in Spain or South Africa or New Zealand, what have you. And most of them are made by foreign directors with foreign casts, and they deal very often with immigrants who come to the American West, and so they're all kind of an interesting spin on the spaghetti western. And this is no different. This is The Salvation. Bad Men Will Bleed is the tagline on this. This is directed by Christian Levring, who is a Danish director who was part of the whole Dogma movement originally, before he realized, like all the rest of them, that Lars von Trier was just flat out of his mind, and they all went their separate ways and started becoming real filmmakers again. And Christian Levering does very, very well with genre films. This is a pretty great movie, I got to be honest. It feels in many respects like an old Clint Eastwood. It feels like Unforgiven. It has an Unforgiven feel to it. The whole revenge motif and everything. But for some reason, what elevates it that extra level? Mads Mikkelsen, who is no longer Hannibal on television.
Mads does make everything better.
He just makes everything rockin'. I mean, I know everybody here knows him as Hannibal, and now that that's off the air, you can discover him as a Danish man who
Discover him as a Danish?
Well, as a Danish man who, with his brother, is trying to make his way in the American frontier, and tragedy strikes him, and boy, does he really unleash hell on the people who who made his life hell. It is bloody. It is tense. It is beautifully shot. It is nicely put together. It is maybe Christian Levering's best film, and it's on Blu-ray, and it's called The Salvation. Really good. Mads Mikkelsen just makes everything better. It's the bone structure, right? The cheekbones, whatever it is.
He's like the A1 sauce.
Isn't he?
He makes everything better.
He does. You're
He's
right.
he's like the peanut sauce. He's like the Thai
He's
peanut
the what sauce?
He's like the Thai peanut sauce of actors. Where you know
Make
how
sure
Thai
you
peanuts,
emphasize that T in peanut.
Thai peanut sauce
Yeah.
makes everything better.
Yeah.
Chicken, beef, salads. It's unbelievable. Mads is the Thai peanut sauce of film.
And well, two more. Let me rock these two last ones out here. We got some listener mail too that we're going to read before we go on quasi hiatus for at least a week. Little Boy. You know, this Blu-ray DVD combo with Ultraviolet as well. Gets that Dove seal of approval, which means that there's absolutely nothing violent or objectionable in this film whatsoever.
Or good.
Well, you know what? Actually, it's not bad. I got to be honest. It's really, really not bad. Now, here's the thing. When you see the fact that it's produced by Mark Burnett and Roma Downey, you immediately go, oh no, they've become the preachy, messagey couple now. Everything has to be sort of hit me over the head with all of my life lessons and
is Obama the devil in this one too?
So anyway, this is about it takes place during World War II, and it's about a little boy who wants his dad to come home safely. And it really is, it's very sweet and very touching. I got to be honest. It's very, very sweet and very touching. It's a really good cast. Emily Watson she's never been better. She's just absolutely delightful in this thing. And Tom Wilkinson, you know, you can take him to the bank with absolutely anything. But you know who's shockingly good in this? That
it's
guy.
like Mickey Rooney from Little Rascals or something.
No. Who's shockingly good in this? Who never does period films and who's always doing like, you know, palooka work.
Oh, is that Rappaport?
Sure is.
Wow.
Michael Rappaport. Michael Rappaport. Just somehow, I don't know what his deal is, but you know, just when I had written him off, and I was at a press junket with him once for True Romance. And he walked in with this just dumb grin on his face, eating a bagel, continued to eat for the whole Q&A session, didn't treat every question was like somebody was asking him, you know, he didn't seem like he was all there. He just seemed kind of giddy and just happy to be alive, which is great, but you know,
you have a job to do.
But it's like, dude, this is your level of professionalism doesn't seem to quite be up to snuff. And then he just started doing that same character over and over, and I thought, all right, he's done. And then he made that superhero thing.
Oh yes,
right?
It's not super. It's was it called Super?
It was
the other one.
Whichever one it was.
Normal or Super.
One of those. Yes. And where he's the guy who thinks he's a superhero, but he keeps hurting himself, and he doesn't realize he's hurting himself. Whatever that one was. I think it was. Was it Super? Might have been Super.
I think Super was the one with Rainn Wilson.
Yeah, I get the two mixed up. Might have been Normal. Anyway. No, but he, you know what? He just keeps surprising me, and he comes through and he does a lovely job here. Special, that was it. So he does a wonderful job here. So bravo. Little Boy is a film from Mark Burnett and Roma Downey that I'm shocked that it's as good as it is. And then lastly, on Ray Winstone, who I just love to death, and who's in a really interesting film that opened this last week called Zipper. By the way, you heard about Zipper? I'll tell you about Zipper later.
That would make a great double feature with The Fly.
Oh! Did not see that coming. Anyway, Ray Winstone and Richard Dreyfuss are the two best things in Zipper, frankly. But he's in this movie called Lords of London, which is one of those kind of Cockney British crime films that he shows up in constantly, and it's fine. It's he plays a crime lord, and it's a whole revenge and double cross, triple cross kind of thing, and trying to make good on your past. And we've seen this thing a million times. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just adequate. It's totally fine for its genre, and the only reason to see it is because it's got Ray Winstone in it, who's always good. All right, Mark. Let's do some docs, and we're going to go a little bit long on the show today to kind of put an exclamation point on time with IGN. But so let's do some docs, and then after the docs, maybe we'll do listener mail, and then we'll wrap it out with as much anime and television and other stuff as we can possibly do. I'm going to first off mention Dusty's Trail, Summit of Borneo, which is an interesting little doc from Cinema Libre. Dusty Brandom, if you've never heard of Dusty Brandom, suffers from a particular kind of muscular dystrophy that is even rarer than regular muscular dystrophy, and it's devastating. And this is essentially the story of how he tries to get to the top of Mount Kinabalu, which is this Malaysian mountain on the island of Borneo, is kind of an awareness-raising trek for the fact that this kind of muscular dystrophy is so devastating and so rare and so unaddressed. It kind of gets lost in the wake of all other forms of muscular dystrophy, and it is inspiring, and it is beautifully shot, and it's a wonderful story, and a cause definitely worth paying attention to. So definitely check that out. The form of muscular dystrophy is called Duchenne muscular dystrophy, just so that everybody knows that. Duchenne, D-U-C-H-E-N-N-E. Very rare form of it. So Dusty's Trail, Summit of Borneo. Really sweet doc.
Wade, we have two docs that are both recommended. One is called Our Man in Tehran. This is from Drew Taylor and Larry Weinstein. This is a documentary about, it's sort of like it's behind the true story of Argo. Remember Argo, the Ben Affleck film won Best Picture?
Yeah. Which had the ending, the kind of Delta Force ending, where you thought Chuck Norris was going to show up on the motorcycle while they're on the tarmac trying to get off the grade. The ending didn't work for me, but I love the movie anyway.
I mean, part of me was like, you're about to lose a Best Picture nomination because of this scene. But in the end, they didn't, and they won Best Picture because it's a terrific film. Anyway, so that whole story, the whole Canadian caper, some people call it, is told true by Ken Taylor. Ken Taylor was Canada's former ambassador to Iran, and he was the one who hid the Americans in his official residence and obtained the documents that got them out of the country. So if you liked Argo, you may want to check out the real story behind Argo, Our Man in Tehran. It is just terrific. It is completely riveting, very well done, very comprehensive. And you'll get the true story behind it, and I really, really appreciated the doc. It's a great companion piece to Argo. Also, very highly recommended by me is Glenn Campbell, I'll Be Me. And Glenn Campbell went on a big concert tour. It was supposed to be just like, I'll do a couple weeks, it'd be great. Turns out that he winds up being diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Horrible.
So instead of just canceling the tour or shortening the tour, he actually decides to do 150 dates as part of a goodbye tour.
It's amazing. So
him and his wife, knowing that the guy's got Alzheimer's and he's got to do 150 dates, right, all around the world, he still does it. And this documentary is a chronicle of that tour and of what Glenn Campbell is going through as a victim of Alzheimer's in I'll Be Me. It is very personal, rare footage. You really get a sense of what it's like to live with this terrible disease. The relationship between him and his wife it just breaks your heart. And it's just wrenching and intimate and emotional, and I thought it was fantastic. So, Glenn Campbell, I'll Be Me. I can't imagine this thing not being nominated for an Oscar. Although, was this 2014?
It was from last year. It got the song nominated.
Oh, it got the song.
The song was nominated. The movie was not. So,
right, which is weird. Like, how could it not be?
I know. The doc category never makes any sense. And then Braddock America, it tells the story of what happens when you got a Pennsylvania steel town that's thriving and then you yank the factory out. What happens? It is literally like pulling the plug in the bathtub. It just it sucks the life out of the town. It is a horribly depressing story, but a really good doc. And this is from First Run Features. It's 100 minutes long, and that's about as long as it can be because it'll make you suicidal after that point. But it's worth checking out. It really is. It's a little bit of an advocacy film, but not so much that you feel like it's this polemic beating you in the face. It's very honest and it's very fair and really worth seeing because it's just so tragic. And then I Am Dale Earnhardt from Spike on television, distributed by Paramount, is all about the late great Dale Earnhardt, NASCAR driver, who died in 2001. Now, doesn't it feel like yesterday?
Really?
Can you believe it's been 14 years since Dale Earnhardt died?
Wow.
I mean, amazing. He died on during the Daytona 500, which is fitting because where else would he have wanted to die? But really fascinating look at who he was and how he came to be who he was, and he was a real badass on the track. I mean, that was what he was known for. He was just so intimidating. So anyway, it's all about him and his family and who he was, and it's fascinating. You always kind of stereotype these guys, and you imagine that they're all sort of variations of Ricky Bobby, but they're not. And they're complex and they're multifaceted and shades of gray, and it's a good doc. Really, really does a nice job. Could be a little longer. It's only an hour long. Made just as a special on Spike, but surprisingly good actually. All right, let's see. Why don't let's blow through some foreign before we do the listener mail.
Yes, sir.
Because there's some really great foreign stuff this week, especially this one, Mark. Elena is out on Blu-ray. The great people at Zeitgeist have released Elena on Blu-ray, which is fantastic because Elena was a big deal a few years ago, but not a lot of people paid attention to it. It was directed by Andre Zig. Oh my gosh, I'm going to destroy his name again. Help me with his name, Mark. The guy who just did Leviathan.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of consonants in his name and not enough vowels, so we don't know what to do.
Zigan, whatever it is. I'm sure one of our listeners will correct me. Anyway, I can never pronounce his name. Andre Zviagintsev.
All right, the show's only 5 hours. You can't spend 4.5 of it trying to pronounce his name.
The guy who did Leviathan.
Which is a great film.
It was a great film, and this is equally great. And it's a totally different kind of a film. It's like this noir kind of a suspenser, and it has a similar style and pacing to Leviathan. Obviously, you realize that somebody's pulling the strings, and there are sort of very dark machinations going on. But it turns the screws very slowly and deliberately in the same way. But it's still a very, very different film in many respects. A smaller film, but he's such a good writer and he's such a good director, and he really, really I think he's got some amazing movies yet to come. Anyway, people have been wanting this for a long time on Blu-ray because it's so beautifully shot. And you know what? Bravo Zeitgeist answered the call. They got us a beautiful, beautiful Blu-ray. It's gorgeous. So if you have Elena on DVD, upgrade to the blue. If you don't have it at all, get the blue. Either way, this film should be had by all. Have it as a blue. It's good. Really, really good. And then we also have Play Motel from Raro Video, who always resurrects a lot of cool, kitschy, old, usually Italian movies. And this is a brand new high-def transfer on Blu-ray of the 1979 Italian film Play Motel by Mario Gariazzo. And it's not for everybody's taste. It's not a giallo film. It's sort of kind of sexploitation-y in a way, but it's not really trashy. It's not really exploitation. It just sort of flirts with it. So it feels more legit than it should be, but it's not legit enough to really be a legit film. If that makes sense. Anyway, but it's like legit trashy. Probably the best way to do it. So be prepared for this really weird kind of Italian genre mashup. That's a little bit of a sex trashy film, a little bit of a police thriller, a little bit of a giallo film. It kind of ties it all together, but does it artfully in such a way that you don't feel dirty for having seen it. You don't feel like you have to take a shower at the end, and I appreciate that.
Well, I like taking showers in general, though.
Yeah,
it's something I like doing.
Well, you don't want to feel.
Huh?
7 a day?
I take one at least once a week.
Oh, well, good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you.
I do what I can.
Proud of you.
This is not an olfactory podcast.
That's correct.
It's an audio podcast. That's a good thing.
Let's see. Would
you like me to talk about something?
Yes, go ahead.
Criterion time, folks. Throne of Blood from 1957. This is one of my all-time favorite Kurosawa films. This is This is Kurosawa's completely just mesmerizing and kind of creepy adaptation of Macbeth. Is what it is.
Pretty great.
Let's face it, it is great. This thing, and by the way, this is not Kurosawa like being all violent and whatever. This is like Kurosawa telling the story of a guy played by Toshiro Mifune, one of his best performances in a Kurosawa film, where he is essentially a victim of his own just unchecked ambition.
Sweet.
Brought about by he's ambitious. He becomes paranoid, and it's pretty much Macbeth as told in feudal Japan, and it looks amazing. I love the high contrast photography is great. It's amazing. It's just a great film, and Criterion has of course knocked it out of the park. 2K digital film transfer, not 4K, but that's okay. It looks really good. Documentary on the making of the film. There's a couple of subtitle translations, multiple subtitle translations, which is fine. You'll pick one versus the other. But the great thing is that you get Throne of Blood, and it's just a remarkable film. It's just a great adaptation. It's one of the most unique and successful adaptations of any Shakespeare play, and it's great. His wife is the long-suffering wife who's wondering what's happening to her husband.
It's a great
It's
film.
just crazy. It's just a great film.
And also from Criterion is 2 Days, One Night, the Dardenne brothers film, which is, that made it to Criterion really quickly, and that's because you're the Dardenne brothers. It just released last year, starring Marion Cotillard as a woman who is let go from her job and all of the horrors that transpire because she now is no longer employed. It's a great look at the desperation of unemployment. I don't think this is the Dardenne brothers' best film. I understand what they're doing. They're doing it pretty much the same way they do all their films, so it has that veneer, that really gritty, realistic veneer to it. And this thing is beautifully transferred. Obviously, it's Criterion. They pull no punches. And the
You know what's
extras,
weird about this movie? You want to know what annoyed me about a
it's
film
probably
that I
the same thing
otherwise
that annoyed
enjoyed?
me. Yeah.
Like, she might lose her job unless something happens, and we're
Yeah.
not giving stuff away.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to give stuff away. She might not lose her job if she can do a certain thing
Yeah.
in 2 days and one night.
Yeah.
And it's not sexual.
It-
But I don't know whether do people is that do
Well,
people,
that's the thing.
Is
That's
the thing
the
that she
thing.
has to accomplish in order to maybe not
It's
lose
a-
her job? Is that a thing? In
It's
France?
a very well. It's in Belgium actually. The Dardennes are Belge, so I would assume that this takes place in Belgium. But and I believe it does. But the problem for me was that it felt like the circumstances of her firing were entirely contrived to create to gin up my sympathy, and then the circumstances of her possibly getting her job back were also contrived to sort of gin up my hope. So it felt like they were being much more manipulative than I'm usually accustomed to their being. And they usually aren't that manipulative. They'll create a sympathetic scenario, and then they sort of let it transpire in a very realistic way and at a distance. And I usually appreciate that. But here, I felt like they were really trying to be a little bit. I just felt the puppeteering too much, and I didn't really appreciate it. But that said, she's amazing.
She's great.
She's unbelievable.
When is she not great?
She's amazing. We sat next to her the year that she won the Oscar.
I know. She was so sweet and
was so
nice
sweet
then,
and
and didn't know
wonderful.
what was going on around her. It was all so overwhelming. Now she's
Yeah.
probably some raging bitch.
I
I have no idea. I haven't seen her in 7 years. What do I know? I'm sure she's very lovely.
She is, and she doesn't age. It's amazing. And director Fernando Coimbra from Brazil made a movie called A Wolf at the Door, which we were talking earlier about this new movie Zipper. This is kind of a little bit like that, but not really. Both of them are kind of the unholy offspring of Fatal Attraction in some respect. Anyway, allegedly this is based on a real life kidnapping drama, and it's pretty chilling, and it's really disturbing, and I have to wonder just how realistic it is, and it gets into a whole. Not to give anything away, but this is where it connects to Zipper. There's a whole infidelity subject aspect to it that is quite provocative and also very upsetting. So, good film, A Wolf at the Door, Brazilian film by Fernando Coimbra, definitely worth checking out. Also a big film at festivals.
Wait, there's a novelist named Michael Welbeck, and he is a French dude. He's actually one of France's most kind of famous thinkers, intellectuals, I guess. And he did a film called The Kidnapping of Michael Welbeck. And it is
Kidnapping theme.
It turns out that actually, I was reading about this before I checked it out. It turns out that Michael Welbeck actually wasn't kidnapped, but there was a rumor in 2011, I think it was 2011, where people in France thought that he had been kidnapped because he had gone missing while on a book tour. So this is kind of based on a little bit of reality. But the actual film itself is a total comedy. It is really funny. And this thing, it's got a lot of wry humor, a lot of understated humor. It's a lot of absurd humor. It's all over the map in terms of its humor. It's really well done. It's just a really fun farce. So I would recommend very highly The Kidnapping of Michael Welbeck. Now I'm going to spell this for you. It's from Kino Lorber. Welbeck is spelled Houellebecq.
Yeah.
So somehow that becomes Welbeck.
Nice.
So what I'm saying is that Welbeck, it's just kidnapping. It's just so funny and it's great. You know what? If you like what's the film about A Dinner for Schmucks?
Oh yeah.
If you like that kind of French humor, you'll love this film.
Sweet. We get another great release from Sisu, who does primarily Hebrew language Israeli releases, and this is Blue and White Crime Stories, Israel's Hilarious Cops and Robbers. 4 films on 4 DVDs. And the films included are all pretty much award winners. She's Got It, Clean Sweep, Big Shots, and Max and Morris. Max and Morris is the one that I had seen before, which is really, really fun. It's just a couple of goofballs, a little bit like the like Pierre Richard and Gérard Depardieu and all of those crazy French films. And they're the most bumbling criminals in the world. Very, very funny. Big Shots, another one allegedly based on an actual incident. It's more bumbling criminals. I don't know how realistic this is with respect to whatever really happened, but if it did, it's insane. And then the last 2, She's Got It and Clean Sweep, were also big deals at the Israeli Academy Awards, which is becoming increasingly kind of a thing because it's a really growing film industry there. So that's definitely worth checking out as well. That is Blue and White Crime Stories, Israel's Hilarious Cops and Robbers. And then there is Zhaozha with Viggo Mortensen. And for those who haven't been keeping track, Viggo Mortensen is fluent in Spanish. And because he doesn't want to be the guy who, after The Lord of the Rings, keeps making big tentpole movies, he's been doing really interesting Spanish language stuff, a lot of it in Argentina. And he keeps coming up with really interesting little gigs in these movies, and Zhaozha is one of them. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but this is directed by Lisandro Alonso, and really just a fantastic performance. I almost think that he's a better actor in Spanish than he is in English. Anyway, and so the idea here is that in the just around the time of the turn of the century, Viggo Mortensen is an engineer who goes to this army outpost in deep southern wildernessy Argentina with his daughter, and things happen with his daughter that require him to eventually, she runs away, and he has to come to her aid and rescue her, and it's dramatic, it is powerful. It is beautifully shot, and it's a real shame that this thing did not get a sufficient English language or stateside release. It was at the Toronto Film Festival, it was at the Cannes Film Festival, and it got no heat in its U.S. release, which is a real shame. But it's on Blu-ray from Cinema Guild, and bravo to them for actually putting it out, because it's a wonderful film and a great discovery. And hopefully we'll get more movies by Lisandro Alonso here, because this one's beautiful.
Well, it is an interesting movie that I would never have even known existed if it wasn't for this show. Falling Star is a film by Luis Miñero, and who I'd never heard of. And it's a Spanish film, and it's about this Spanish king from the 1870s, Armedio I. He's an actual Spanish ruler from the 1870s. And this guy, his reign was very short because he had no interest in being the king. And he had no interest in being the king. He would prefer to drink wine and have lots of sex, and realize that pretty much, at least as described in the movie, his choice was either to get assassinated because he's terrible, or just leave the throne. So the director, Mignaro, winds up creating this really kind of fanciful, cool, almost camp peon to this ruler who only ruled for a very short time. He didn't want to be the king. He only became the king of Spain by like 200 votes. So even the people didn't want him.
Weird that you
And so it's just a very
voted
strange little
king.
blip in the Spanish monarchy, and it's all told in this film, and it's told with some visual style, and it's an interesting film. Falling Star. I was very surprised. I had never heard of it or the director.
And then lastly, on the foreign language front, we've got a couple of great ones from Film Movement. One is Bulgarian. It's called The Lesson. The other one is German, and it is called The Chambermaid. And both of them really, really interesting, great female-centric movies, especially the Bulgarian film, The Lesson. Takes place, centers around a school teacher in this small town, and just basically whose life is a mess. You know, her husband's a loser, and she's got to be a mom, and all, you know, everything just doesn't really work out so well for her. And it's a little bit like the Dardenne film. You know, it's about how far a person can be pushed by bad circumstances. Really interesting. And The Chambermaid, both of them have really great short films, by the way. The short film on The Chambermaid is really terrific. It's called Worlds Within. It's an American film. It's fantastic. Anyway, the Chambermaid is a little bit different. It's obviously about a woman who's a chambermaid, but the mischievous chambermaid, the things that she does and what she sees, it's very dark and very funny and very quirky, and it turns into a very interesting friendship, we shall say. So Film Movement continues to find really, really interesting little films to talk about. So, Mark, we got some listener mail.
Let's do it.
I got some listener mail. Steve Gale writes us and says, quick note, the G in giallo is pronounced like the letter Y. The word is Italian for yellow. You see that? Yellow. So it's like
Well,
yellow.
I knew that. I knew giallo was Italian for yellow. I didn't know that we were mispronouncing the word.
Well, we're supposed to say like yellow, like yellow.
Giallo.
Yeah.
Giallo.
But everyone I know says giallo, so I have to keep saying giallo. It's like I can never actually say to somebody, one of my favorite film directors is Krzysztof Kieślowski, because they won't know who that is. But if I say Krzysztof Kieślowski, they understand that.
And that's what I would say. I would say he directed Three Colors, and he's a brilliant, and that's his name.
So, like, you know, who would you say were the directors of the Matrix films?
The No. Him and her?
See, but we say Wachowskis, right? We say
Right.
Wachowskis. Well, I was corrected on that at one point by someone who speaks Polish who said it's pronounced Wachowski. Well, nobody's going to know what I'm saying if I say, oh, have you seen the latest film by the Wachowskis? They know. So we have to mispronounce these things sometimes.
Okay, that guy, he was being a douche.
Yeah, well, there you go. And then we've got Al in San Francisco says, watched Fuller's Pickup on South Street. First time, Saturday night.
I love that movie.
3 days ago at age 49. This movie is so pregnant with illusion, metaphor, subtext, irony, social, political commentary that it's on maternity leave. I love that. It's so pregnant with illusion, metaphor, subtext, irony, social, political commentary that it's on maternity leave. That is a great turn of the phrase. Al, you rule.
Love it.
Love
Good
it.
job, Al.
I haven't been blown away by a film's direction at this level in a long time. Fuller's presence is palpable in every shot, camera move, fade, and I've never liked a Widmark performance until I stumbled onto this. Even the brawls are choreographed with a singular verve. No, it doesn't leave an emotional impact like Out of the Past or The Third Man, but it's so refreshing to experience it in a post-war classic with Kevlar-strong style and substance combo. Could easily be the sole topic for a semester-long course. That was it, and I agree.
One of my favorite noirs. Love it.
Fabulous,
Love that movie.
isn't
And
it?
because you know what? He hides his beer in a bucket in the river.
Yeah.
So in order to keep, that's how he keeps his beer cold, Wade.
Yeah.
He keeps it cold by putting it in a bucket and dipping it in the river.
It's the best.
And then when he wants a beer, he pulls up the
fantastic.
bucket, has a beer.
And Peter from Toronto took us to task for making fun of Caillou. Stop picking on my fellow Canadian Caillou. He's just an innocent, imaginative 4-year-old boy. Maybe he's hairless for the same reasons why your American Charlie Brown is bald. Touche.
Charlie Brown is not bald. Charlie Brown does have a wisp of hair, but it's meant to represent a
He's got
fuller head of
three. He's got
childhood
three
hair.
hairs.
Well, it's meant to like Homer Simpson's 2 strands of hair is meant to represent the fact that he only has 2 strands of hair left.
Well-
With Charlie Brown, it's meant to represent more hair.
Anyway, he points out that Caillou was designed primarily for toddlers and was created by child development psychologists and has been shown to be very effective in helping their attention spans and cognitive abilities. And the reason he's bald is that he was originally created as a baby of 9 months, and when it was time for him to get older, the addition of hair made him unrecognizable, so the filmmakers decided, the creators decided that Caillou would just never have any hair. So he's become popular as a bald kid. He's just never had any hair. That's how we recognize him. Opposed to my daughter, who was born with a big crop of hair, and it's just gotten more thick as she's gotten older. And then lastly, we got Eric Altieri, longtime listener, writes us and says, I used to work at a vegan bakery and juice bar in Providence. A regular customer would come in, huge guy, big hands, usually barefoot, kind of a hippie. He'd always order 2 shots of wheatgrass. We couldn't get over how big this dude was. We figured he had to be some kind of a bodybuilder. One of the bakers Googled his name, and it turns out he and his brother were the Barbarian Brothers. They'd done a bunch of awful movies and a terrible rap album. When I heard you guys mention them in episode 382, I lost it. So, pretty great story.
Although I'm glad that the Barbarian Brothers, because obviously they were really ripped and in shape bodybuilder guys. Now that they're older, it's just nice to know that they're just fat. They're just old and fat.
Totally true.
Because that's my revenge.
Yeah.
Because I was old and fat when I was 15.
All right, Mark. Let's see how much TV we can get through.
Are we still going?
We're still going. We got a few more minutes. Come on, let's knock it out. This is the. Come on, we're winding it up at IGN. Going out on our own, leaving home.
Yeah, leaving one more. Okay, 2-hour show. Leaving one more.
Well, we're going to be gone. We want to go out on a bang. Let's go out on a TV bang. The Jeff Foxworthy Show.
Oh yeah, we're going out on a bang there.
A complete series. I'm still kind of amazed that there was a Jeff Foxworthy show, but this is back when every single comic had to have a show. Anyway, Jeff Foxworthy show.
If you give me all these TV shows to talk about, I'll run through them in 45 seconds.
Well, that's kind of the idea. That's sort of the idea. Here, this is what we do. But anyway, Jeff Foxworthy show out from Mill Creek, 41 episodes, complete series. One of those blue-collar shows, back when every comic had to have a show, and they're all kind of the same. They all have a family. They're all a little bit flawed, and their wives roll their eyes, and their kids love them, and they deal with everyday average problems. And that's it. There you go. It's these things have just sort of died in syndication. They were originally going to be just nonstop syndication spectaculars, and they've all kind of died. And then, as long as we're on the subject of things that play well in the heartland, Walker Texas Ranger 4-movie collection includes Warzone, Flashback, Standoff, and Whitewater. This is a Walmart exclusive, as you might imagine would make sense. And you know what? If you don't like Walker Texas Ranger, there's no point in even listening to us. But they just made a ton of these things, and Chuck Norris is wealthy beyond anybody's wildest imagination as a result.
Wade, we have 2 CW shows, which means that I don't like either of them. One, we have the complete 6th season of The Vampire Diaries, and this one, this is the last one, I think, to feature the delicious, whatever this woman's name is, I keep forgetting.
Her. Yeah.
Nina Dobrev.
Yeah.
Oh, delicious. I think I just like brunettes. I think that's really...
That's probably true.
all there is to it.
There you go.
Anyway,
now that we've resolved that,
people either love this show or they don't. It's vampire, it's teenage gorgeous vampires, and then there was a spin-off show which I watched a little bit of, but I just couldn't handle it, called The Originals, and The Originals is about to go into its 3rd season, and so we have the 2nd season on Blu-ray.
So this is the latest trend in promoting your cast with ensemble cast on TV. You have a bunch of hunky people. Yeah, it's the CW thing a little bit, but it's also more on cop shows. You have hot women and hunky guys, and they sit around with their arms folded and their hands on their hips and looking really cool in skin-tight T-shirts and whatnot. And that's how they promote all these things now. 5th season of Hawaii Five-0 is really extraordinary that this rebooted Hawaii Five-0 is in its 5th season, because it's not the original, not even by any stretch. And yet somehow, I guess maybe they're getting tax breaks in Hawaii or whatever. But they just somehow people are liking the new Hawaii Five-0. So
That thing keeps going, man.
I know. I guess maybe it's the environment. Maybe they just like seeing the Hawaiian backdrop. I don't know.
Sometimes that's enough.
But then again, that wouldn't explain why we keep getting Chicago Fire and Chicago PD, which keep having weird crossovers with each other, and then Law and Order shows, and I never really quite understand how the crossovers work. The only crossover that ever made sense to me was Simon and Simon and Magnum PI, because that was awesome.
How about the Bionic Man, the Bionic Woman?
Oh, that was, yeah, of course. That
was
that was a spin-off. It wasn't, crossover.
Wasn't
yeah,
it
when
wasn't a very special episode.
No.
How about when the Simpsons, when the Family Guy went to the Simpsons?
That was weird. Crossovers between shows that were never related to begin with, that's where it gets weird. When it's a spin-off, that's fine. Like Archie Bunker on Maude on Archie Bunker, whatever. That's a different deal. Anyway, Chicago Fire Season 3 and Chicago PD Season 2, both of them have a guy with his arms crossed on the cover, which tells you they mean business.
This guy's serious.
Yeah.
Whether it's around. He will protect you.
They will protect you, whether it's from fire or bad guys. They will protect you. And there
New
it
York
is.
PD, the guy gives you the finger.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway, they're decent shows. They're well done. They're put together nicely. It's all very Dick Wolfy, which is why you always get the SVU crossovers. And Dick Wolf just keeps creating stuff that just keeps making him money. I mean, I can't even imagine how wealthy he is by now.
Yeah, thanks to people like you. You love those shows. You love all those Dick Wolf shows.
SVU I like. I don't, the
How do you even know these from one from the other? They're all the same. They're all the same.
You know what? Law and Order. There is an NBC affiliated cable channel that shows Law and Order at some point every hour of every day.
Yeah.
If you just go around, you will find it. Whether it's Bravo or whatever it is, there's somewhere there's a Law and Order on television all the time, constantly, never ends. It's never ever ending. Let's we got just a few more here, so let's blow through these as quickly as possible. Another Touched by an Angel, Walmart exclusive, Volume 4, The Spirit of Liberty Moon. You ought to know what that's all about by now. No need to go in any further detail. Scorpion, Season 1, Blu-ray and Ultraviolet combo set. This is, you can tell they don't mean business because he's got his hands in his pockets. You see? His arms aren't folded, his hands aren't on his hips. He's much more approachable. He's more accessible.
They're a little more eccentric.
Yeah, that's what it is. They're more intellectual, is what they are. The idea behind Scorpion is that these are the brains, right? This isn't the muscle. These are the brains, and they're the ones that have to. They've got to figure out how to solve all of these criminal problems and fix the world with all of their weird little intellectual superheroism. And I like the fact that they've sort of taken the Big Bang Theory crowd and moved them into the procedural realm. It's sort of like Heroes, except they think their way through problems. They don't have superpowers; they just have super brains. But I don't know how much mileage there really is in this going forward. So anyway, that's Season 1. Respectably interesting for a first season, so we'll see where that goes in the future, assuming that it doesn't get canceled.
Texas Rising is a History Channel miniseries. It was like 5 nights, I think 10 hours. And this thing is just terrible. This thing just traffics and just the worst cliches. It's all about the formation of the state of Texas and the Texas Rangers, not the baseball team, but the law enforcement agency. And it's got a good cast. It's with Bill Paxton and Ray Liotta's in this, and Brendan Fraser for some reason, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. But the issue with this thing is that it's just too long, man. It's like I know they want to make these things into events.
Yeah.
But sometimes the story does not lend itself to 10 hours. Sorry.
No. Well.
And also, what's even worse is it just traffics and horrible cliches. So there's really nothing good to say about Texas Rising.
And then Castle and Madam Secretary, Season 1 of Madam Secretary with Tia Leone. We've been playing this game for a while to try to make these. Ever since The West Wing went off, everybody wants to kind of have the political show, the new political show, the inside thing. And the only one that's worked really is the Shonda Rhimes thing, Scandal. That's the only one that's worked because it's about scandal. It's not about the actual political machinations, and I don't know why they didn't take a cue from that. Anyway, we had Gina Davis as the president, and now we've got Tia Leone as Madam Secretary, Secretary of State. All of it kind of centering around, inspired by Hillary Clinton to some degree. And then that's sort of where the comparisons end. I don't know that I like Tia Leone. I don't know that I buy her in this part. The commentary on selected episodes is fine. I think the show needs, a revamp, something. It needs to change, but it's not bad, but it's not great. And then Castle, which has been on for 7 years.
Who's watching that show?
I don't know.
So, you know what? Gods at DigiGods.com. Tell us if you watch. Do you know anybody who watches that show?
For season 8. It's coming back for season 8. I have no idea. I guess he's charming. I guess. That's what they tell me. Anyway, they brag about the fact that it's the People's Choice Award winner for favorite TV crime drama for 4 years in a row. And I don't know who these people are.
Who are these people?
I don't
Who are
know.
these people?
I don't know. I guess it's because he's charming. Anyway, that's out there this season 7. It's the same as season 6 and 5 and 4, and, it's just the same deal. So on and on and on these things go.
Bessie is a surprisingly good film from HBO about Bessie Smith, the Empress of the Blues, they used to call her. And Queen Latifah, a little nervous about this when it was announced that she'd be playing Bessie Smith. But she's good. And Monique's in this as well. Monique, of course, was just heartbreaking in Precious, won an Oscar for it, and she's in this too. But really, it's Queen Latifah's show, and I think she's just great. I think that the thing is a lot of great energy. It doesn't put her on a pedestal. It is very honest about her the problems that she had, and so it's not a typical biographical drama, but it is not something that just sort of proudly beats her up just for the sake of drama. So it's pretty comprehensive, and it's very well done. And I've never seen her better, Queen Latifah. I think it was nominated for 12 Emmys, and it's now on Blu-ray. So definitely check it out. Bessie, good.
And with Bessie, our relationship with IGN comes to a close.
I would have said something more, maybe more dramatic. Or
well,
we're still here.
We're still here. We're still moving on. We will still be there. Your feed should continue to deliver the show. We're going to transfer the old feed to the new feed fairly seamlessly, so they tell me. So anyway, keep track the Twitter, track the Facebook. At DigiGods, at Cinegods on Twitter, and obviously DigiGod. It's right now IGN DigiGods on Facebook. We will be changing the name to just DigiGods. And, when we relaunch with Cinegods.com, give us your feedback. Tell us what we're doing wrong. We're going to try to make the site as cool as possible starting out. But
it'll be a work in progress.
It'll be a work in progress.
Let's just say,
yes.
Since Wade and I have no money,
yeah.
We're poor. We can't, hire some hot kid to do this amazing site. So basically, Wade's doing it himself.
Well, there are ways of making it, flashier than it has any right to be.
As I said, Wade's doing it himself.
Thank you. So anyway, we'll be relaunching shortly, and we have the 2 giveaways: the Surface and 5-star.
Now, did you tell people how they can get these?
Yep. Just send us an email, gods@digigods.com. Pick one of the 2 films, the Surface or 5-star. Send us an email to gods@digigods.com with either 5-star or Surface in the subject line, your name and address in the body of the email. Get it to us by September 4th, and we will pick 2 very lucky people for each title to receive those 2 excellent, cool, independent films. And with that, Mark, we are going out.
We're going out. Thank you, IGN.
On a bang. Thank you, IGN. Thank you, everyone at IGN, for a wonderful run. And here's to another wonderful run going forward on our own.
And most importantly, thanks to you guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the other side.
You bet.